Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Today is February 20th, 2017. The time just keeps flying by. You guys, we know that. I guess that means we really are getting older, right? I guess we're all getting older. But when you worry about the time going by so fast. It's great to be here. February, I love February. It's my favorite month. And not because it's my it's my birthday, not because, I don't know, Valentine's Day. It's just a great month. A month of love. Hopefully it's a month of love. So hopefully we have just this bang wang wonderful webcast planned, and I absolutely hope you all love it, love it, love it. But before we start that, we're going to start in our traditional questions and answers. We're going to make sure that you clear your mind. You're supposed to clear your mind from everything that's in your mind so you can focus and listen. And hopefully you're sitting down, got a glass of something. If you drink too much wine, it's not going to work tonight because you got to focus, you got to listen. But I've had a couple questions. I want to answer those questions. We have this French cure. This is too funny. This is our little new French cure, and it comes in this little pill bottle. And you open it up, and there's the French cure. So that you can, when you take it shopping, and you can use it on necklines, you can use it all that. So I had an email from a lady, and see, then you just fold it back up. This is the coolest thing ever. Anyway, I showed this to you last time. It's on the webpage. It's under Notions, but I had a lady email me, and I thought this was wonderful, and I have to pass it on. So because it comes in this pill bottle, what she did is she took her tape measure, and she emailed me and told me that she put her tape measure right down the middle of the pill bottle. Okay, isn't that cool? So now she has her French curve and her tape measure all in one place. I thought that was really, really something. Because your French curve won't measure your long lengths, but your French, you got it all. Your little measuring kit there. All right. So thanks for sending that in. I thought that was just a really cute suggestion. And finally, after all these times, guess what we have? These are called pattern hangers. We have them. I can't believe I didn't even bring my pattern hangers to show you how they work. But you know how they work. You can do tissue, paper, it doesn't matter what your patterns are. And I just cut a little hole. Like if I have a piece of paper, I'll fold it like this and just make a little triangle. Triangle, triangle. Just make 2 slashes, tissue. Like I said, whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. It makes a little triangular hole like that. You stick it through, and voila! There you go. They're so cool. And it's so much easier to organize in hanging than it is to try to put them back in an envelope, and so much wear and tear. Anyway, so we have our little pattern hangers. New way to organize. Yay, 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 yay. And they're on the website. They're under Notions. Okay? Alright, questions. Any sneak peek of the spring patterns? I gave you a sneak peek. Let me think when I gave you a sneak peek. I gave you a sneak peek. Oh, I know, last Thursday night. Last Thursday night, we did distressed leggings. Distressed denim. We did leggings that were distressed, so I was sanding them. And the top I had on is a new pattern. It's called Candosa's top. Nina Candosa is a designer from Paris, and I did one of her tops. I love it. I just love it. I could not wear it. I was just so excited. I've had it for a while, and I've been wearing it all over, but I could not wear it on a webcast. I just couldn't do it. So that's one of them, and the rest that's a sneak peek. A sneak peek doesn't mean a peek. It just means a sneak peek, a small peek. So the others you'll have to wait for, and we'll have them. They'll be in next week. 2 weeks will be our spring web forecast. We'll have the 4 patterns, but others as well. We've created a nice little package for you that's some of the spring trends that I'm gonna, femininity, softness, all those things are really in. Jeans are really strong. I am not sure how they got denim to be back popular again, but they sure did. And denim is everywhere. Distressed denim is really, if I had to say a number one, I would say it's the #1 trend. But anyway, next week, watch your emails, because we will get them out next week, and you'll see them, and then we'll have the webcast on them the following 2 weeks from tonight. 2 weeks from tonight. It's called March 6th, actually, is when it is. All right? Okay. So, question: when reducing or removing the shoulder pad in a jacket, like 1900, I've heard you give two different methods. One where you drop the armhole down, and one where you take the armhole at the shoulder seam and then alter the sleeve. Can you discuss the pros and cons of each of these two methods? The second would seem to alter the cap height. Yes, I will. And you do have two choices because, and we're going to mention it tonight, but when you are dealing with the armhole, this is my template. Whenever you're dealing with an armhole, there's no pattern making rules that cover the armhole. So what that means is it's opinion, it's style, it's up to you. I.e., and that's in comparison like the bust point, because no one says I want my bust point at my waist, I like it there, I think it makes me look better. Nobody says that. The armhole though, I can say to somebody, this is the armhole I think works best for you, and they can come back with, nope, I don't like that. So armholes mean you have to decide your choice. No one can know or tell you what you like. So having said all that, if I take a jacket and let's say I'm going to use the number, I'm going to give you a 22-inch armhole. So 22 inches for an armhole is pretty standard on a size 8 in ready to wear. 22 is pretty much across the board. So with that 22-inch armhole, 1-inch shoulder pad is included in that 22-inch armhole. Okay, so now if I take away the 1-inch shoulder pad and use a 1/2-inch shoulder pad, then all of a sudden I take up the shoulder seam, which is no big deal, you all know how to do that, but my armhole now becomes 21 inches, not 22. I have said to you many times, drop the armhole, restore it back to what it was, use the 22-inch armhole. Because when you get into 21 inches, then it gets small. It gets small. Many times, as you all well know, I say, what size armhole do you like? And you say, I don't know. But you need to know. So let's say hypothetically, we'll take both scenarios. I've made it now a 21-inch armhole. I've measured my favorite jackets, and I know I like 21-inch armholes. Then I'm not going to drop the armhole down and restore it back to a 22. I'm going to leave it at 21. And in leaving it in 21, I have to then adjust the cap height and I have to shorten it. So I would take, because I've changed this a 1/2 inch, I would change a 1/4 inch all the way across the cap height. A 1/4 inch tuck. So that means there's a 1/4 inch on each side. That's a half in the front, a half in the back, which is exactly what I've reduced this cap height by. So I take a 1/4 inch tuck across the sleeve cap, and that equals not changing the sleeve. Or if I say, you know what, I like 22-inch armholes, I'm going to keep my 22-inch armhole, I'm simply going to drop it down and do nothing to the sleeve. Those are your two options. Okay? Everybody understand that, and you're okay with that? Okay. It is all styling, it's all your choice, and it really kind of makes you understand that you need to know what you like. You want to know what you like. And even if you don't in the beginning, if you don't know in the beginning, I would trust our patterns and then, you know, wear the jacket and then decide, next time I do this, I'm going to do XYZ. I think sewing, fashion, styling, all of it I think is really just a progressing thing. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I still get better. I think I get better all the time. I get better and better. I fine tune. I could just be a slow learner. I don't know, but I still find myself getting better, and hopefully you'll quicken the pace and do it a lot faster than I will. All right, what is the difference between 1900 and 1516? Well, styling. Just styling. That's all the difference between any of our patterns is styling. Our philosophy at Silhouette Patterns is you take one base, and it's a great base, and then you simply change out, change plain potatoes with patterns. You change this, you change that, and you get a new jacket. So what technically are the difference is that the jacket is shorter, the collar, it's a V-neck, there's collar's been added. There's a big difference between the two collars and the way they look. The center back, the back pieces are the same, the side body's the same, the sleeve is the same, not identical the same. I mean, there's some differences as far as lengths and linings and facings and those type of things going, but it's kind of like saying, what's the difference between a a Volkswagen and a Honda. I mean, they're both cars and they both have four wheels, but the style's completely different. So it's kind of like the same question. But it's all just styling. They both turn on, they both have gas, they both drive down the road. Does that help? I hope that helps. What is the best way and how do you cut shoulder pads down to fit your jackets? I think I have shoulder pads right here. I think I have shoulder pads right there. I've been working on my jacket. Just one second. See, that's the problem with cleaning up. You shouldn't clean up. No, I cleaned up that whole area, so I put all the shoulder pads back and they go in the other room. But anyway, to answer the question, a shoulder pad, you don't cut, I don't think you mean to cut down the width, because you buy them the width you want them to be. We have obviously the half inch or the 1 inch. You leave that the same, and the width you want to leave the same anyway. So I mean the width from front to back is what I'm talking about. But sometimes, as far as when they go from this point of your shoulder, they go too far into the neck, just take the point that's down here, cut up to the widest width you want it to be on your shoulder, and then circle back around. There's nothing scientific about it. It's kind of hard to screw up, so not to worry. The 1 inch probably won't. The half inch, you'll probably need to taper those a little bit. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, depending on what I'm putting them in. Okay? What about the trench coat hardware? We'll probably have it up this week. We are waiting for the buttons to arrive. We have a little kit that we've done for you. They're beautiful. The buckles are really pretty. They're real pretty gunmetal. It's a large 2-inch buckle and then 2 little 1-inch buckles. They have a little hardware in the middle. That way, if you want to put grommets on your buckles, you can. If you want to, you can just take that off. But I thought it better to buy it, and then if you want the little grommets on your cuff and on your belt buckle, you can. If you want to just put it in and slide it through, you have that option. So there's 3 belt buckles. There's the large belt buckle, the 2 small belt buckles. There's a large hook and eye, which I think is critical to have it look nice, the big one, not those little ones. It's a large hook and eye, and then there's 12 1-inch buttons and 6 3/4-inch buttons, 5/16-inch buttons, I think. So that's all a little kit, and it's all in there together. And we'll have those up. We're just waiting for the buttons to arrive. Everything's been sourced, and we've got it all. It's hard to keep, watch for it if you like this, because it's hard to keep it all going. I mean, just because without paying a real expensive price, I guess that's the bottom line. I really wanted to get it for you at a really good price, and by the time you have 20 items, or more than that, it's hard to do. But anyway, I think these will make a beautiful little kit, and like I said, just watch the website. We might have them by Thursday. If not, we'll have them up by next week. But I know trench coats for spring, again, are everywhere. So they're very, very popular. We really, really pushed the pedal on this. I was in New York, I don't know, last week, I think. Yeah, I guess it was a week ago. Anyway, just really fine-tuning things. So we're close. We're very, very close. Appreciate your patience. How do you determine proportions if your torso is longer than your leg length? I don't want to wear a 2-inch heel. Well, your 2-inch heel has nothing to do with your proportions. You don't wear heels to put your body back in balance. That doesn't accomplish anything except to make you uncomfortable. You can proportion your body with clothing. You don't need heels. The eye doesn't pick up a heel anyway. So you'll want to measure to the break in your leg is where you should be measuring. That's your halfway point from the head to the top of your break, head to the top of the break of the leg, break a leg to floor. That's your halfway point. But then just measure shoulder to knee. And you don't really need to know whether you're in proportion or not in proportion. Just once you measure from shoulder to knee, divide that by your halves, thirds, fourths, fifths. So if it's out of proportion, then your clothing will follow right a line along with it. And we've done several webcasts on proportions. We've got the book, My Very Best Dressed Me. Go through there and understand proportions. But it doesn't matter if you're in or out. Your clothing can still fix it. Okay? Your clothing can fix it. And the good news is, then you want to keep all your clothing adjusted to your height, and then, it will all intermix with one another as well. Okay? Not very simple to do. Just be aware of it. Awareness. I think a lot of us can change. Number one problem is being aware. Okay? All right. Hi, Peggy. Is there a way to adjust the crotch length of ready-to-wear pants? I wear petite pants, but the legs are too short, so I buy women's sizes. Can I adjust to long crotch? Nope. Sorry. There is no way. There's just not. You can't. It's really like saying, can I move the bust up on a garment? No. I mean, but I have to ask you back. I have to ask you this, and it's fair if you ask me that I ask you this. It's one for one. Why are you buying ready-to-wear? Why would you buy them? They take less time to make them. They take more time to fit them. I will give you that. You will take some time, go through the videos. There's 1 hour we did that webcast on doing pants. We did it back in August when the Spiffy ladies were here. We made them all across the board. You could do leggings. You could do pull-on. You can do yoga. You don't even have to put a zipper in a pair of pants anymore. Get 3,200. Do it out of a knit. Get 3,400. Yoga pant. Do it out of a nice knit. This thing's fit phenomenal. Stop buying and altering. That is the hardest possible way to look at something than it is to simply make it. So that's all I'll say, because you ask it, so I get to, we're a pattern company. We're not an alteration company, you guys. Can I make the t-shirt in 195 from one-way stretch instead of two-way stretch? Yes. Yes, you don't have to watch out for anything. The stretch just has to go around the body, that's all. No, very rarely does something need two-way stretch. There's times it does, like a 125, I'll use that for an example, Leanne's top. It's got kind of like a turtleneck. It's got to be able to stretch, and that particular thing has to stretch both this way and this way. So that needs a fabric that stretches in all directions. But most knits don't. In fact, the leggings I made last week, I did a pair of leggings, denim leggings, and I did them out of a one-way stretch. You can still do it. You don't quite have the mobility, but there's tons of leggings in the stores that only have one-way stretch. So you absolutely can do it with one-way stretch. Okay? And when I do them, it almost feels like they're more store-bought than when I get the two-way stretch, because most of the ones in the store are one-way stretch. So they actually feel like they're more store-bought than the ones I make with two-way stretch. Will you address how to adjust a pattern that fits the shoulders with your size 2 but needs a size 4 at the bust? Sure. Absolutely. Do you have one of these? This is called an armhole template. Do you have one? Alright, you got to keep this handy. You got to make sure you got one of these. I can't give you these. You guys have to have them. Is that a deal? Alright. I'm ordering 4014 Shelley's dress. One of my favorite patterns, by far. My daughter's going to have a baby, and I want to make her maternity top. This will translate to a top, yes? Any pattern will translate to a top. Sure, you just cut it off. Any top translates to a dress. You just lengthen it. So yeah, I mean, I think that when you guys ask me a question like that, you have stuff in your head that I'm not seeing or visualizing, or I don't necessarily think we're on the same page. Is that fair? But go for it. You can absolutely do it. I have a lot of questions that you guys ask me. You just need somebody to say yes, yes, do it. Go for it. And then tell me how great it is when you finish. I'm just starting with your patterns. Which one is a good start with? I'm looking at the catalog now. Right on the very front page, there's a center column on the front page, and I think it says specials, current special offers. Go down toward the bottom of that, and it says the starter pack. You don't necessarily need to buy the starter pack, but any of those patterns will help you be the starting points. If you want to start with a knit top, a knit pant, a starting point, again, is kind of a relative question because I don't know where you want to start. So if you recognize which one you want to start with, then you can look at that starter pack and know where to go in any of those areas that you want to be in. Okay? Any tips on fitting Giorgio's top? I usually take a dart at center front to the bust. Won't that upset the vertical lines? I usually take a dart at center front to the bust. Center front to no. Giorgio's top fits great. I wouldn't do any of those alterations. Just make it. I've made it. I've seen it on many women with no alterations at all. Alright, so Giorgio's top is knit. Why you'd make... I don't... Email me privately because I'm completely not sure of what you're asking. So I hate to answer you when I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, thanks. Alright, so tonight we're going to deal with universal fitting facts. Now, I purposely use the word universal, and the reason I use the word universal is because often I get women who say, I have this problem, I have this problem, and I have this problem, and somehow you think that you are special and unique. Now you are special and unique, you know that, you know I love you, but on the inside, on the outside, we're a little bit of a cookie cutter. I hope that y'all understand that. But we're kind of made from the same mold. And that mold is extremely repetitive. And I don't care where we live or what nationality we are, it doesn't matter. We are all very, very similar. So that word universal is meant to drive home to you that your issues are just not that unique. And if you'll let go of what that fitting teacher told you when you were in some fitting class 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever the number is, that you had this problem and that problem and this problem and that problem, you will be a lot better off. Because I'm going to tell you something. We have we've just made a mess out of fitting. And so it is very simple, and I want to keep it simple. So I want y'all to get into your Zen, Zen mode here, and just hear what I'm saying, and try really hard not to combat it. Try really hard not to do that, and just listen. Okay, now, it doesn't mean I don't want you to ask questions, because I do, but recognize that sometimes when you are so busy with thinking of your rebuttal, you don't hear what's going in, if that's fair. Okay, so all along I've taught LCD, 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 LCD. I wake up at night screaming, LCD, I'm having a nightmare of some woman is chasing me and she's naked and she can't get her garment to fit and she's taking it out on me. So and she wants to know how she solves her problem, and I wake up yelling, LCD, LCD, LCD. LCD is length, circumference, depth. LCD. Great fit is when the LCD of the pattern matches the LCD of the body. Length, circumference, and depth. That's all fit is. Fit is not style. Fit is not personalities. So goal number 1 is to separate out fit, LCD, and style. And for 40 days, 60 days, pick a number. You are not allowed to say the word fit. It's too generic. It just doesn't mean anything. I get that you're frustrated, but other than that, it doesn't really convey any information that's of any importance so that I can help you evaluate your problem. And I'm always writing back, well, what's this? I write back the same thing. All right, so LCD, and that's these 12 universal fitting facts I'm going to go over in turn, L, C, and D. Now they're in that order for a reason, and we've got to always approach them in the order. The reason I put them in an order is because if you'll learn them in an order and really stick to them, you will teach yourself how to do this. And I've been doing this a long time. In fact, next week is our 20th anniversary. Happy anniversary to us. And happy anniversary to you all, because if it weren't for you all, we wouldn't have hit 20 years, okay? So 20 years ago, we started out with these little patterns at Puyallup, which we'll be at next week. And thank heaven, some of you just were so desperate to get anything that worked, you bought our patterns, because I don't know that many of you made them, but you bought them, okay? So thank you, thank you, thank you. And in that 20 years, we have Spiffy, and a lot of women come to Spiffy, and we have a wonderful time, but they pay a lot of money. But you know what? I teach the exact same thing, LCD. The only difference is we're kind of in a little concentrated setting. You kind of put the world away, and so it's easier for you to listen. But the information itself is not any different. I do recognize that you have busy lives. You're just busy. You're busy in our heads. We're busy we're busy. So that allows people to put the world away and kind of focus. But we're going to do the same thing tonight, okay? All right. Whenever you pick a garment, you pick it by circumference. I said go L first, go length first, but you can't. You have to pick out the size. We'll come back to circumference, but you have to first pick the garment out by circumference, because circumference is how we size our garments. And we might call them a 40, or we might call them a 10, or we might call them a 28, but all that means is the circumference, the number of inches around. It could be done so many easier ways. Don't even go there. That's the way we do it. That's the way we'll probably always do it. I don't see it changing anytime soon. So circumference is always dealt with first, then we'll come back to it and I'll tell you why. Okay? So I'm starting with, tonight, a pillowcase. Okay, I made a pillowcase. Now the reason I made a pillowcase is because at the end of this I'm going to wear it. But keep in mind, I didn't want to wear a real pillowcase. I decided to make my pillowcase out of a knit that I liked. Alright, so I measured my hips, my bust. I knew what my circumference needed to be. But even pillowcases are made by circumference. They either get a standard or a queen or a king, a California king, whatever. You understand what I'm saying. The pillowcase just keeps getting bigger around, maybe a little longer as well. That's all circumference. Okay. I have a person who it looks similar to me. And of course I have to inject at this point that I lost a couple pounds, and so I'm thinner than this, but that doesn't matter. The point is, I could do this on a mannequin or I can do this on me. It makes no difference. Okay? Now, the main goal into this is because what many of you, and I'm going to reference Series 100. Series 100 is our Fit to Stitch series. And when I was asked to do the Fit to Stitch show, I thought to myself, what is the most valuable contribution I can give to the sewing world? And if I only had one series, if it tanked and whatever, derailed, if I only had one series, what information would be most important? And it is on Series 100. I poured my soul into 100, okay? The very first show is up on our website, or I'm sorry, it's up on YouTube, and it's our main show. Series 100, I think it's 101 is what it's called, and it takes a pillowcase. Now the reason we started with a pillowcase is because after teaching for many years, women would say, well, what's wrong with this, or what's wrong with that, or I like this pattern, what do you think? And what my response was, that is nothing more than a decorated pillowcase. So decorated pillowcases will never make us look our best. We'll never look good in decorated pillowcases. I don't care how pretty the pillowcase is. I don't care how pretty the stuff is on top of the pillowcase. But decorated pillowcases will always make us look like Dolly Parton in a muumuu. Okay? Now you got to get that picture in your head, because for many of us who like pillowcases, we only like them because they hide us. And hiding is never going to make us look thinner. We all understand why we want to hide. We're bigger than we were in our 20s. We get it. We get it. But decorated pillowcases will never make us look our best. So what I did in the first Fit to Stitch series is I did 2 mannequins the same size, changed one, left the other one alone. Tonight we're only going to do one because you're going to see it transform. We're going to take the pillowcase. Again, the importance of the pillowcase is it's flat. And we all know how to make a pillowcase. It's flat, and what we need to understand is how to take a flat piece of fabric and make it dimensional to fit our bodies. That is where, in my experience, is where most home sewers don't get the connection between how the flat becomes dimensional and how we can control that transformation. And we have every bit of control. We have every tool we need. We just have to learn what the tools are and how to use them. Okay, and that's called basic pattern making. Okay, so here's my decorated pillowcase. Again, mine's decorated. I did a knit. I just serged around 3 sides. And I made mine pretty because I want to wear it at the end of this tonight. So the first thing, obviously I can't even put it on my mannequin because I got to cut out a neckline. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half. And I have here my neck edge template. So I'm going to kind of use it against the mannequin so you can see. Here's my fold, my center front fold. And I'm going to put the center front there. This is just a little template. You could use your French curve. It wouldn't matter how you did it. And I'm going to cut a neckline. You could cut an opening, you could make it raw, but basically whenever I use whenever I make a cut, actually it's whenever I make a cut, I use the French curve. I could just cut a square. We've seen square necks, we've seen round necks. It doesn't have to be round. But because I wanted to follow a French curve, I'm going to use the French curve as a template. So I've cut that out. And there's my neckline. So I'm going to get rid of my neckline. And now I'm going to make it pretty. I don't have to make it pretty. We could leave it ugly, actually. And I'm going to put it on my mannequin. So when I cut this out, I could have cut it square. I mean, I didn't have to use a French curve. I just, like I said, I kind of want to wear it when I'm done with all this. So I decided to make it and follow the neckline. And I really like this print. Now what I did is when I started is I just made it a yard long. So I knew it was going to be longer than I needed to. I'm hardly a yard to my knees. So I knew that would be enough length. Keep in mind, here's the edges of the pillowcase up here. So there's my pillowcase. It's a square. Okay? And then I made it enough circumference to where it would clear my bust and my hips. And if you have a pillowcase like this and you tell me that your bust is smaller and your hips are larger, then don't start with the pillowcase. Start with a triangle, or a pillowcase that goes wider at the outside. We can still call it a pillowcase. It doesn't have to be square to start. For you to understand the analogy, just make it wider. Okay? Okay, we ready? Keep going? What's happening in Puyallup? I am in Redmond. Google Sew Expo Puyallup. Sew Expo, S-E-W-E-X-P-O, in Puyallup. And there's a large sewing show starting next Thursday. It goes Thursday, I think that's March 2nd. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's about 25,000 women descend upon a sewing show, and it's a good one. Okay? Oh, yes, thank you. And then at Puyallup, I'll be there on Thursday and Friday, both of those days, and I'll be in the Kai scissor booth. And I'll be there from 1 to 4. 1 to 4 Thursday, 1 to 4 Friday. come by and say hi. Come by and say hi. I've got classes on Thursday and Friday, but I'll be in the Kai Scissor booth from 1 to 4 on Thursday and Friday, and I'll send out an email on Tuesday of next week, just letting you know that too. Okay, so we've got this. All right. Now first thing I'm gonna do is locate the bust point, because the base of the neck to the bust is, oops, didn't work. The base of the neck to the bust is length, and we're doing length first. And you just put the bust point right where the bust is. And the alignment is between body and pattern, so the bust point is actually the nipple of the bust. Those 2 points align. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay, and now if I were not going to use the shirt, I would just put a mark, but because I want to use the shirt, I'm not going to put a mark. All right. Locate the waist. I could locate the waist by literally putting a dart. Now darts can be several things. They can actually be physically darts, or they can be little kind of pleats that are stitched down. They could be little gathers that are taken. We use elastic. Lots of different versions for what they can actually be. But for tonight, I'm just going to stitch them as darts. Alright, and darts are really depth. So we're jumping around a little bit to do this, but just hang in with me. Alright, and when I do the darts in the front, and when I do the darts in the back, in both cases, I can locate the waist and pin them in. Now darts have some rules. Darts are 4 inches from center front, 4 inches from center back. They shouldn't go any higher than the shoulder blade. So just a few little rules like that. I had a lady one time, she brought a pattern to class and she couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. The darts were just poorly placed. There wasn't that much wrong with it at all, actually. Okay, so now you can see that with some shape, I get a much better, the thinner. The lady's actually thinner now because she shaped herself. Where so many of us think that a pillowcase is our best look, you just start to see that when we start to shape it, we actually look thinner. Or hopefully you see that. You got to hit rewind and then go back, and rewind and go back. Alright, so I'm also going to go ahead and do a bust dart, because I want you to look at this section right here, and you can see there's kind of floppy stuff hanging around in here. And what a bust dart does, darts are the cure. You got L, you got C, and you got D. And darts are the fix for L, and darts are the fix for C. So let's say if I had an existing pattern, and I wanted to lower the place where the bust was, I'd cut all the way across because that's a length issue, and I have to add or take away the same exact amount. So length can only go up or down, and it can only go up or down the same all the way across. The minute it starts to become angular, it's no longer length. Okay, the minute it starts to become angular, length is not angular, and circumference is not angular. And the minute circumference starts to become angular, it becomes depth also. Horizontal depth is length, and vertical depth is circumference. So you've got your L, your C, and your D. D affects length when it's horizontal, and D affects circumference when it's vertical. So if I'm going to make a vertical dart, I know that that dart is affecting lengths. Because what I need is I need the blouse to be longer in the center than at the sides. I need the blouse to be longer in the middle and take away the side. So how do I do that? That's my dart. The bigger that dart gets, that's your B cup, your C cup, your D cup. Okay? Because I'm doing this. I'm too hard on this one. Okay. All right, so let's see if that's better. All right. I'm too hard on the mics. I'm moving around too much. Stay focused here. All right. So, again, any questions, let me know. We're just starting at the top and working our way down.
Okay, there's a little buzz, but that's what we'll go for. It's good.
Okay, we're going to continue. That little buzz. Yeah, we're just going to continue, you guys.
It's not a screeching buzz. It's just.
All right.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. So we've got our bus start, we've got our way start, we've got why the two are there. There's rules about where the bus start comes into the bus circle. I've got lots of error room here. Don't think the bus start has to be exact. It does not. I've got some error factor here that I can not have to worry about. Up here I've got some loose stuff again, and what I'm going to do is drape it because it's called my shoulder seam, and my shoulder seam is a dart. So I think what I've learned as I teach is that our biggest hole is darts. Darts are the least thing we understand, and they're simple if we just understand whether they're length darts or circumference darts and what they can do. All right, so earlier I was asked, how do you go from a narrow shoulder to a larger bust? And I said, if you got to have one of these. Okay, now what this is this is my t-shirt armhole, because I'm making a t-shirt in this case. And this is the line I'm going to follow. And this says shoulder. And this says side seam. So I'm going to put this wherever I want it along here and wherever I want it at the side. I can put those 2 points wherever I want them. There's no pattern rules. It's all personality, it's all you. And in fact, let's just say if I put this at the shoulder and I swing this way out, if the body can do it, so will this. I might have to raise the side seam up to get to that point, to keep that armhole the same, but I can do it. So I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to cut out this armhole. Because what I want you to see is that I don't want this armhole to gap. And gapping is caused by one of two things. It's either caused by the shoulder angle that's not right, or the bust dart is not large enough. All right. So look, I'm actually making a shirt from a pillowcase. And it's beautiful. And you notice I have no armhole gap because this is picked up, this is taken away. And those two are my control centers for my armhole. Why do you have error factor at the bust? Good question. The bust point and the nipple of the pattern align. But none of us wear
I'm going to take for granted here that we're not Madonna and we're not poor Anne Hathaway at the Oscars in her pink dress. We're not that. And so what that means is all the darts have to do is come into the bust circle. They shouldn't actually go to the bust point. They shouldn't go to the nipple. They're not necessary. All that dart is doing is taking away length from here and taking away circumference from here and then tapering to nothing eventually. So the bust circle itself is a 3-inch diameter all the way around the bust point. So you can see I can have that bust dart be 3 inches away and still be okay. And my bust dart doesn't actually have to start from here. If I take this away, I could actually have the bust dart. It's called a French dart. You all know it. It can be way down here. But you notice when I do that, it will still radiate up to the bulge because the bulge is the whole reason this dart has to exist, is because we need more in the front and less on the side. So when you see this, it doesn't matter where that dart starts from as long as it goes to the bust circle. Okay? You actually need 2 armhole templates for a knit, one for the front and one for the back, correct? Yes, you do. This is just the front. You actually have an armhole template, and the front and the back have a different shape to them. They're the same size, but they have a different shape. Yes, thanks for your clarification on that. Okay. So the next thing I want to go to is sway back. And most of the time when I'm draping, I actually pick this up when I'm doing lengths. Like I always drape lengths first, but I usually pick it up at lengths because it'll kind of puddle at the back of you. But it is a dart, and its widest point is its center back. It'll taper to nothing at the side seam. So it'll taper, 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 and it'll go to nothing. All right, sway back. There is another very similar alteration, but the opposite of one we make through the shoulder blades. And that one, and when I do sway back, a lot of times these darts that I've draped, I can actually fine tune them and bring them closer into the body because the shaping of the back of the garment matches me so much better. So a lot of times once I will do the sway back, if someone needs it, I'll come in and redo these darts and just make them a little more, how do you say it, just more exact to the body. You can see that you can really improve upon the fit. Whoops, I'm not supposed to say that word. You can really improve upon the matching of the two. And anytime you're doing this, you're not going to be losing circumference. You're not going to be losing mobility because I'm simply providing a better match between the pattern and the body. Okay? All right, so through here, a lot of times we have what we call a rounded back. We actually cut through here, we open this up, and it tapers to nothing on both sides. And many times I have to do a rounded back and a sway back. One, we're all about, it's kind of like saying, well, if I lower the bust, don't I have to lower the waist? No, the bust and the waist are two separate parts. Treat each part respectively and recognize that it's a separate part. Okay, so we've got the shoulders, we've got the bust, we've got the waist, we've got the shoulder blades, we've got the waist and the back. They're all separate parts. Peggy, when you adjust for a sway back on the tissue, it throws center back off line. What should be done about that? Just straighten it up. Just take from the center back of the neckline to the center back of the waist and just draw a straight line. It will hurt nothing. It will take nothing away. Just go straight. Okay? Otherwise, that's a knit. Because if it's a woven, the center back should be crooked anyway. Like all of our center backs on jackets, they're all crooked anyway. And they're bowed out to accommodate the fit of the back much better. So you're only talking about probably, if you're talking about a blouse that's woven or a t-shirt, something that's not as finely fitted as what a jacket is. Our jacket is our most closest fitting garment that we have. Okay? Okay. You don't leave a horizontal dart It's just what you adjust in the pattern. Oh gosh, thanks so much for clarifying that. You guys, yeah, I forget. Thank you. You do not leave this horizontal dart, the sway back, in the pattern. It is adjusted out in the tissue. So it's not in the final garment. The bust dart, every other dart that we've done, the vertical darts, the waist darts, the bust dart, those are in the final pattern because they stop internally. So anytime a dart stops in the middle of the garment internally, then I have to have him in the final product. But if I can take a dart and go out to a side or go out to it anywhere, if I can get it out to anywhere, then I don't have it in the final tissue. If we go back to the front, notice the shoulder dart, I can go to the neckline and that can be my edge, so I don't have, that's just one seam. The bust dart, I stop it right in the middle. So there's no way to continue it off somewhere else, or else I'm affecting too many other things. So that's why I sew a bust dart in a garment. Okay? Good clarification. Thank you. All right.
Fabric question, just kind of a general.
Fabric general question. Okay. When buying knits for leggings, what is the max you should have Lycra that doesn't lose shape after wearing it for a while? It's not based on fabric. It's based on quality. That's a quality question. So I wouldn't buy Lycra from a source that I didn't know, because I mean, y'all know there's a lot of inexpensive fabrics out there that, I mean, if you knew you were going to spend your time and wash it one time, would you buy the fabric? I wouldn't. So it's not percent, it's just quality. Okay. Okay. So circumference is number 1. Locate the bust is number 2. Locate the waist is number 3. Waist to hip. Nothing can go wrong from the waist to the hip. That's a length thing. It's number 4. Sway back is number 5. Rounded back is number 6. Armhole and the neck edges. 7 and 8. Have your templates. All right. The armhole and the neck edges, those are both style. I've said it before, but I want to make sure you understand. There is no rules other than saying they have to follow a French curve. Okay, there's no rules. So it's important that you know what you like so that you can decide what you like that to be. Because if you do that wrong, no one's going to come along and say, hey, you did that wrong. It's just wrong. All right. High round. What does that mean? High round. If you'll rephrase that. Sorry, you guys. She's looking pretty good, isn't she? And you know how much better this side looks than that side. I hope you can see that. For $195, I have used one armhole for the front and one for the back. I have checked and checked and checked, and seems that there is 2 required. So we said there's 2. It's not 2 armholes. It's just one armhole. It's just a different shape in the front than in the back. It's the same length. It's just a different shape. So yeah, no, that's okay. Just to make sure you have your armhole template. I mean, it should be 2. Yes, there should be 2. And it doesn't matter. I mean, even if I said there was 1, you guys, I just said it was style. So there's not one answer. There's my answer, there's your answer, there's their answer. There's lots of answers out there. There's not just one. All right? Okay. How do I make the shoulder templates? You can't. I mean, you can't. If I take a pattern, and this is center front, and let's just say, for argument's sake, this is the neckline. All right, and then I drape it, and I find out that that's my shape, that's the armhole. I'm sorry, that's the, I'm losing my notes, you guys. Okay, so let's just say this is center front, neckline, shoulder, armhole. That's my template. I can always, and what I try to tell you guys to do, or what I recommend, because all of our patterns do this, you can lay the center front at center front, and you can lay this right at the base of the neck, and that will give you the shoulder angle consistently all the time. So if I take this and lay this at the front and this at the base of the neck, bam, that should be my shoulder angle, and that shoulder angle is repeatable. All your non-shoulder, like all my knits and all my blouses, those are all the same. All your jackets should all be the same. You know, it can depend on if you're using a 1-inch or a 1/2-inch shoulder pad, but they should all be the same base. Your shoulder doesn't change angles. That's something that, you know, we'd want to have a template of that. Please tell us about your pincushion. Well, I can't because it was a gift and I love it. One of my sweet, sweet customers made this for me, and so I love it because it takes lots of pins and they're fast in, fast out. I just love it. But I don't know how she made it. I don't know how she did it, you guys. It's pretty cool though, huh? Anyway, thank you. Is it possible to pillowcase fit a princess seam? No. I mean, yes. But a princess... Now you're talking not fit, you're talking pattern making. So that is important to understand. It's a good question. Because there's fit, there's pattern making, and then there's drape. You can drape fit, but you can't drape pattern making. You have to make the pattern. So then I have to know that what is a princess seam? A princess seam is when the bust dart is moved up to the upper portion of the bodice and it's combined in a seam line with the waist dart. So there wouldn't be any reason to drape that on a mannequin, because when I change from one style to another in pattern making, I don't change fit. I'm only changing style. So it's not necessary to drape all these different styles. I only need to do the base, understand the base, how to repeat the base, and then I won't have any more fitting issues again. Is that where I'm trying to come from? Okay. Now let me just wrap up, because I want to finish. There's 3 more things that we need to mention. There's 4, sorry. The bodice is all done. But we have sleeves. Sleeves have L, C, and D. L is from the shoulder to the elbow and elbow to wrist. They have 2 lengths. Circumference, we all know that if we get a sleeve that's too small, we're miserable. We can't move, we can't bend. We might as well just trash the whole garment, to me. Sleeves are very important. They're easy, but they're important. And then depth is our arms are bent, and so the actual sleeve should be bent as well. If it's a 2-piece sleeve, it will have a dart at the elbow. It's built into those seams, but that's depth. Okay? All right, the last 3 then are with pants, and they're crotch depth, crotch length, and then of course our good old flat rear end. Those 12, and I really want you to focus on those 12, because if you're having an issue that comes up, and if you have this list of what these 12 are, I can go through them. I can go through those 12 and figure out what it is. Because you can just go down a checklist and you can say, well, I can slice the back and open it up, but is it going to help? And you'll be able to start anticipating whether it will help or not. How are our heads? Are we having fun yet? See my new t-shirt? I'll wear it next time. What patterns did you use for your cardigan jacket? Oh, this is our pattern of the month. This is 915. Hugo's favorite cardigan. I love this cardigan. It's that snaky stuff and leather. I like it. I really like it. It's comfortable. It's a knit body with I just like it. Thank you. What would you do if the neckline gapped? Okay, so see, that's interesting because your question has your answer in it. You may not know that, but I go back to now that I've covered all the L, C, and the D, length, is that a gap? A gap is when there's more in one space than there is in another, correct? So length is up and down, circumference is in and out. A gap is uneven. So it has to be a depth issue of some kind. It has to be a dart. So it could be, I mean, there's a myriad of things that can cause that. Let's say that the shoulder angle is too square. Let's say I pick this up, and I pick it up so high, it'll cause the neckline to come forward. So it could be that the shoulder angle is wrong. Something right up in here, though, or the bust, one of those two is causing it, and it will be a dart of some kind. So I want to look around and say, what dart would fix this gap, just depending on, what it is. Okay? And hopefully what I'm trying to do is kind of get you to your thinking, to think about it a little bit differently, so that we don't think of terms of fit, we think in terms of L, C, and D. And go over and understand what each part does, and then how can we go back in and fix what's not correct. I hope this helps you guys. I hope it helps. All right, any quick questions? We're at 9. I'm putting my French cure away. Look at my cute little French cure. For the two-piece sleeve, how do you adjust the elbow angle? You should have a dart. A two-piece sleeve, the front seam comes down the front. It's a dart, and it ends at the back seam. So the dart is horizontal. It starts at the front, goes to the back. It is not in the final garment. It is only in the tissue itself. So the actual sleeve bends more. It's not in the final product. All right? And we are kind of excited. We are half a millisecond, not really a millisecond, but we're very, very close. One thing I probably shouldn't even say this, but anyway, I think I've decided is to teach a pattern making class this June. We're going to do an online pattern making class. I think that we're ready for it. I think it would be a huge advantage for many of you who have just done so well, for many of you starting out, to get the base. The base is patterns. It's understanding the rules. And so we're going to do this online course. So we'll teach a class. We'll put it up. You don't have to be there live. But then we'll keep it up for a little bit so you can review it, and we'll go from there. But anyway, we're working out all the bugs. We're getting all the information exact and correct. It will be a fee for class. It will not be a free class. It will be a fee for class. And so we're working all that out. But anyway, all right, it's still February 20th. We didn't go past the midnight mark. It is 9 o'clock. I thank you all for being here tonight. We will say, are we ready, or do you want to ask your questions?
We are all good already.
Okay. Then we are going to say see you in 2 weeks. And it is happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns. Thanks so much. Good night.